All right. Today is October 6th, 2021, and I'm your host, Tiffany Boggins. And evidently, my phone is still on, so let's turn that on. Oh, that's actually our guest saying connectivity issues. That's okay, they've got some time to figure it out. I know I didn't play my intro. And you know what's weird? There's going to be a lot of different things on the show tonight, so we're going to format a little differently. Honestly, I didn't play the intro because I forgot. Sometimes that happens. And also, hey, Rachel, first person on. Hi. So yeah, there's going to be some change ups tonight, which we're just going to roll with it. So tonight's guest is Coby Michael, and he wrote The Poison Path Herbal, Baneful Herbs, Medicinal Nightshades, and Ritual Ethnogens. So we're going to talk to him in a little bit. First, we're going to go over some new stuff. Like I said, tonight's show is going to be a little different than usual, so just hang with me. It'll be fun. Hey, Michelle. Hey, James. Been seeing you tune in a bit. So let's see. Let's talk about stuff. First off, upcoming new fun stuff. We got our liquor license for the party. So the Dionysus party will have booze, which would have been really disappointing if it didn't. But yay! What that means is that I got to call my very good friend who is an alcohol alchemist. And James and I, so James Kindler, who just commented, he's one of the people who's helping me put the party on. So we got to go over to her house last night. My friend who mixes drinks incredibly well. You guys would remember her. She was on the show one time. Her name is Annalisa Ventola. She's the executive director of the Parapsychological Association. So it's funny because her and I both very much believe in, phenomena, psychic type stuff. But, I come at it from witchcraft and she comes at it from science. So, but together we work really well. So last night we got together and concocted some amazing signature cocktails for the party coming up. So you're going to be excited. And they're, it's alcohol, but they're actually pretty good for you. So there's going to be stuff in it like butterfly pea flower tea and chamomile tea mixed with alcohol and some bitters and some cool stuff. So you will not be disappointed. And, for people who don't like that stuff, there's going to be beer and wine too, because it's Dionysus. You got to have wine. So, but yes, signature cocktails. Very, very, very excited. Hi, Connie. Hi, Marcy. Christina. Yes, she is a bar witch. That's absolutely true. She's amazing. Alcohol alchemist. Do I have that shirt in a bigger size? This shirt here with the goat on it. I don't know what sizes we have left. I think we have extra large left, but we're getting new shirts in. So I know I showed you guys last week, but I'm going to show you again real quick because I really like them. We're going to get these ones, which has, so it's like the cross keys and the skull and, of course, the strophalos, because we all know that Hecate is a big part of WitchLab and a big part of my life. And then these, okay, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be a shirt, but trust me, when they come, they're going to be hoodies. These are new hoodies. Very exciting. The all-seeing eye. Big fan of that. So yeah, so new shirts are coming. I think, like I said, this shirt we only have in like maybe 2 sizes left. But Michelle, I will look for you when I go to work tomorrow. And if I remember, I'll let you know. You can also call me if you want. All right, let's go back and make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so the Dionysus party is shaping up nicely. I actually just randomly was over at the Vanderelli room, which is where it's happening, and I met a sculptor there who happens to have some large sculpture things that like mythical creatures that you put your face in and take a picture kind of thing. And it just so happens that he's right there and he's going to bring those over. So we have even more fun things at the party. Things are just it's rolling. It's rolling. You're going to be very excited. I don't even know what all the surprises are yet because we still have a week and a half. Who knows what's going to happen in that time? So yeah, and we're also developing new products that will be available for the first time at that event. So Dionysus Bath Kit, which smells amazing, and Dionysus perfume ritual oil that I am designing myself, and I think you will like it. It's very sexy. So again, mark your calendars, October 16th, 7 to midnight. What else? Oh, okay. So I told you things are going to be a little different on the show tonight. Instead of going through all of my upcoming events, because you guys have heard them a lot already, I will say Coby Michael, our guest tonight, will be in the shop in 2 days teaching a poison path herbal class. So you can still get tickets on the website, witchlab.com. And our next show is in 2 weeks here with Shiva Honey from the Satanic Temple, who I love very much. She's actually a sweetheart and a badass. You know, my favorite things. Okay, but what else we're going to do? I'm going to open this box that I got today. This is from Mortellus, and she did a run of something that she gave me the opportunity to purchase early, and I did. So I'm going to open it right now. So I had set up this whole camera thing so you guys could see like down and watch me do this. Totally didn't work. So I'm just going to open it now. And there's a little thing here that says open me first. So I'm going to do that. That looks like an invoice. This looks like a note. What does it say? October 1st, 2021 to the 13. Because there were 13 of these boards made. Right. Try not to give it away. Thank you so much for purchasing one of these boards that I crafted with so much love, magic, and compassion. Sorry, this is when Maeve's going to talk the whole time. Sorry. That I crafted with so much love, magic, and compassion for those lost. As a part of your purchase, a donation was made to a charitable organization important to the family of the deceased, once housed in the burial container from which these spirit boards were made. Maeve! Shh! Baby, I'm reading. Through my work creating these, I have made strides to do what I can to make the package within an experience for you, and I hope that you might consider prior to opening, creating an unboxing video. You guys watch me open this. I didn't know that was going to be in here. I'm doing it right now, Mortellus. Or perhaps taking photographs to share and tag online. Not only does my extremely small business benefit greatly from exposures of that kind, but it means so much to me to see the items I create in their new homes and to see the reactions everyone has to the items themselves. As always, memento mori, memento vivere. Sorry, I mismastered that. Remember you must die, but also remember to live. Mortellus. So, in her wishes, I'm giving you an unboxing video right now, even though you can only see me and not the box, but we're going to open it right now. Okay. With my fancy knife. So there were 13 of these made, and they were made from a coffin that was actually part of a felony. Someone, a mortician who shall not be named, did not do their job all the way. And instead of putting the body in the casket where it was supposed to go, they left it to rot in a garage, I believe, or something like that. Okay, so this is what's inside of here, guys, and that actually says hello, Tiffany, 513. Oh my God. Talk about personalizing things. Oh, okay. First off, this little box has another note. Oh my God, there's so many notes. Okay. That's all Latin, but it says, "May the dead rise and come to me." Oh my gosh, she has beautiful things. "Leave ye departed shade. I license thee to depart unto thy proper place, and be there peace between us." And this box has the gorgeous planchette in it. Oh my gosh, look at this thing. This is beautiful. So, and as you all know, WitchLab Wednesday Live is here to promote the community. So that's why I wanted to do this. And so There's other little presents in here too. Small gift from Mortellus. Is that a little? I'm not sure what that is, but I'm really excited to get to this. I want you to see it. Okay. Beautifully wrapped box. She's crazy. Gosh, I'm so impressed with the detail that she puts into things. Mortellus, as you guys remember, wrote Do I Have to Wear Black? And talked to us all about funerary rites of different belief systems and, different ways to do things, reminding us how important it is to plan for our own death. Hard to do, but I get what she's saying. Oh my gosh. There's more notes. Okay. This has a seal on it. I don't know if you can see. Okay. Oh, that's what the five. So this is board number 5 of 13. I have 5 of 13. Okay. Let's look at the board. I have to show you every step. Fancy paper with cutout says hello. She's so good. Oh my God. I am a collector of Ouija boards. I love them. Every single one of them. This is incredible. You see it? Oh, it's beautiful. This is a little bit of resin right here that she's filled in a hole. Oh my God, that is just amazing. And she hand burnt them. She hand did the whole thing. Hand stained, hand burnt. That is incredible. I don't know if you could see the purple light coming through the little thing right there. Okay, all right. Thank you guys for indulging me in that. And yes, there's a paper on the bottom that says goodbye. She thinks of everything, honestly. But as she says, that's because she doesn't sleep. So, Mortellus, thank you so much. The board is gorgeous. I love it. I am forever grateful that you gave me the opportunity to be a part of 13. Okay. So, like I said, we're not going to do upcoming events because we're going to do that instead. And if you want to hear about the other upcoming events, besides the ones I mentioned, watch last week's show. I talked about all of them all the way through March. So, okay. Without further ado, I would like to bring out our guest. He is an author. He is a teacher. He is an expert on herbs, especially the scary, dangerous ones that we all like to talk about so much. He is the author of The Poison Path Herbal, Baneful Herbs, Medicinal Nightshades, and Ritual Entheogens. Slow down every time I say that. Ladies and gentlemen, Coby Michael.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So excited. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you wanted to be on the show. I'm so happy that you're going to be here in 2 days.
I know. I can't wait.
I'm very excited. The whole store is very excited.
Good. I can't wait to see it in person. I'm stoked.
And I just redid some fun lighting, so I think you're going to enjoy it.
Sweet.
Lighting's a big part of it for me. So.
Yeah, I love your moody light. I'm here in my mom's salon, so I've got the bright daylight.
Yeah, I basically live in a cave, so even when it's daylight, it's dark in my room.
Love it. Yeah, my apartment's the same way for sure.
Where are you now?
I'm up in Indiana right now, and in my hometown, Fort Wayne. I'm doing a few events up here in the area, but I recently moved down to St. Petersburg, Florida in August.
I had no idea. So from the time that we booked this class till now, like you moved during that time.
Yeah.
When we booked it, you were still living in Indiana.
Yep, I was still living in Indiana. I was doing a summer collection. I moved the business and getting things running again and getting prepared for this week and the book launch and everything that comes with that too. So
you have a book launch coming up and you have a tour coming up. So you're in the middle of your tour because you have WitchLab and then you're doing Faye's Cabinet too.
Mm-hmm.
Where else are you going?
In Hartford, Michigan. I'll be doing Maison Vampire in Salem the 22nd of October. Treadwell's in November. So kind of all over the board.
You're going to be in Salem in October.
Yes, dream come
That's
true.
exciting. That's very cool. So I'm going to be honest with you. So normally when I have a guest on, I read their book before they come on. I have not had a chance because I got it yesterday, day before yesterday. I've just got it. So,
Yeah.
because we had some trouble with the publishers and things like that. But through your publishers being really great, I was able to get the books before the class, which is great, but not in time for me to read it. So that means I'm just going to ask you all kinds of extra questions.
Yeah, go for it. I had to speed through it myself again one more time because this is the first time I've seen like the physical book and didn't think that I was going to have them for this week, but they came. So
I'm so happy they came. I know we weren't sure, but
mhm.
we did it. They did it. They got them to us. And this book is gorgeous, by the way. I love the colors. This and it's one of those that feels really nice. I love
Yeah,
it.
they did an amazing job on the cover art. I didn't have anything to do with that.
Well, they did. They did good. It looks like they represented you well.
Definitely.
How long? So, I like to talk about origin stories. So, how did you find magic? So, let me refine. Did you find herbs or magic first, or witchcraft?
That's such a difficult question, and I try and go back to my mind to like my earliest kind of memory of one or the other to see where it kind of started, or it's sort of like a chicken or the egg kind of a scenario. I think that my connection to nature and curiosity about nature, really it informed my beliefs before I really understood what they were, or to be able to put words to them. So I think that the craft was definitely always there, but kind of maybe more in the background. Just sort of wired into the way that I see the world and the way that I think, and plants sort of represented that and echoed, a lot of those similar beliefs. So I always felt a very close kind of connection with the plant world in particular.
When did you start? Like, when did you find witchcraft? Was it something for some of us? It was always part of our family, and for some of us, we walked into a bookstore one day.
Yeah, it was definitely not something that I was necessarily brought up with, but from a very very early age was just always very interested in. Um, Magic and the unknown, and the secret sort of hidden side of nature and things like that. So I got my first book when I think I was maybe 10 or 12 years old, and it was one of the little like grocery store booklets that you see in like the tabloid rack before you check out, that had like, it was just like a book of love magic or whatever, but that was like my very 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 first sort of like introduction into, oh, this is something that like people are actually writing about and talking about, and it's not just on Hocus Pocus, which is my
It's
favorite.
not just fantasy in my head; it's actually somewhere out there.
Yeah, so totally validating, and just kind of
Oh,
started the spark for a lot more future investigation, and just my interest in science and religion and chemistry and astronomy. It's all kind of had that occult aspect as sort of an underlying theme to why I was interested in all of those other topics as well.
absolutely. I think that there's a pull for a lot of us, and it's the pull comes from different places, but if you find somebody who's interested in tarot, most likely they've got a thing for herbs too, and they've got a thing for astrology, and they might not have the chance to explore all of it, but they feel something from it. They feel the pull of the occult, of that hidden knowledge of there's something there that I don't know, and it's very attractive.
Definitely.
I think, and I think that herbs are something that for a lot of people is a very almost comforting thing to go into because you can start with things like chamomile and lavender and roses. Um, but you have definitely taken an interest in the darker stuff, which again is stuff that has a pull to it, has a very exciting thing about it when you get into like flying ointments and psychedelics and things like that. So anything that can kind of alter our mind, I think is has such a pull for occultists. We're just like, yeah, give me that other doorway in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just like with that, the plants that I've always been sort of attracted to or most interested in, through their mythology, their folklore, their correspondence, they kind of reflect that. And to me, that really is sort of what the poison path is about. It's sort of this umbrella container for all of these really, really special plants that are kind of like the most important to like our collective mythology, um, as witches, as magical practitioners, and they sort of tell our story. If you study the history of magical practice, you're going to come across entheogens and psychedelic plants and magical love potions and things like that. It's just there. It's just they're one and the same, totally connected.
The excitement of thinking about a plant that you can find outside can actually change your life. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something that when people start looking into it, they start to get that glimpse of what magic can be. And when you get that, then you're so excited that it is what you wanted it to be. That
Mm-hmm.
there is mysteries and there is magic and there is a way to get deeper and uh, make love potions.
Right.
Which I think when we start, we want to do that. We want to make invisibility potions. We want to make love potions. We want to make the things that they seem like fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Stuff to make us dream, stuff to make us see things that aren't there.
Yep,
And
and
I
that's all possible through altered states of consciousness, and there's definitely a legitimate explanation or like a chemical key to those different states that we read about, and they seem like, oh, that would never happen. Like, no, you can't fly. People don't fly. Um, but a lot of times they're recounting these entheogenic experiences.
right, yeah,
Um,
which feels like flying, feels
Definitely.
wonderful.
Yeah, we've been using plants recreationally for thousands of years. So people didn't just find out about magic mushrooms or cannabis or plants like that.
Yeah, no, they're not new. They're not
No,
new.
definitely not.
I am going to let my puppers outside because she really wants to be outside. But tell the people about your favorite herb, or at least one of them that they can find in the book. I'll be right back.
Oh, one of them that you can find in the book. Well, my favorite herb is belladonna, deadly nightshade, and I feel like I talk about that one the most. And that one is my favorite, or the one that I would consider kind of my plant spirit ally, because that is the one that I sort of share the most affinity with, connect to in the most different ways. Each plant represents different modes of thinking, different types of consciousness, different sort of life themes, and things like that. And even looking at it from a folkloric and mythological standpoint, that would be the one that definitely represents me the most, and probably I would say takes the biggest role in the book is Deadly Nightshade, and the nightshades in general. I've always kind of thought of myself as following in the footsteps of Robert Cochrane. Hopefully not to the letter, but he always had an interest specifically in the tropane alkaloids, and Atropa belladonna in particular, and we know that that's what he overdosed and died on. So,
And what do you think he was trying to do with it when he overdosed on it?
well, I think some discrepancy between that, with whether he was actually trying to do some type of suicidal last right type of a thing, or if he was actually trying to go on some type of a journey or spirit flight or something like that he was planning on coming back from. I think that there were maybe benzos or some other more pharmaceutical component that was involved in that, but um, yeah, definitely the nightshades. Those are the ones that I focus on the most. And that kind of to me is more the purview of, or the focus of, the poison path, and what distinguishes it from psychedelic spirituality. While they're definitely synonymous, I do think that the poison path in particular is a little bit more focused on plants that are not only entheogenic and psychedelic, but plants that are also potentially deadly. If that makes sense.
It does, because we don't look at mushrooms as deadly, right? I mean, you can take a lot of them and you can have a really insane trip, but I don't necessarily, they're not at that point where, like, if you take just a drop too much, it could be deadly. And I think that's where the poison path kind of comes in, where, you can play with nightshade and datura and stuff like that, but if it's just not the right amount, then you can actually die.
Yeah, definitely. So there's that potential there, and there's that extra connection to that energy, and that just sort of very cathartic experience that working with a plant that has that capability can bring into your life and into your energy, and the things that type of a rite of passage, and that's definitely what it is when you're working with it in a very entheogenic and intense way. It sets into motion things in your consciousness, brings up things from your subconscious that will then kind of play out, in the following months. So it's definitely not something that, I have this trip, I had this experience, now it's over. It starts things that you don't necessarily realize maybe until, you get to the destination and you're looking back.
And this is the kind of time where you have, like, a lot of synchronicities and things like that, where you're like, oh, okay. And you start to see the patterns or things coming together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost like because they're Saturnian herbs, they're ruled by Saturn. I kind of describe working with them entheogenically as sort of a miniature Saturn return. So it creates this sort of cathartic
Oh boy.
that we're purposely putting ourselves through.
It's kind of like when people talk about deciding to work with Lilith, or deciding to work with Hecate, or any of the dark mothers, Santa Muerte, where you're basically asking for them to come and fuck up your life for the better, to get rid of the things that don't serve you, to help you see things more clearly, things like this, but they're not easy to deal with. And I feel like it sounds almost like that same kind of a path, where you're like asking for a Saturn return. So it's kind of like asking to go through a really big trial, and possibly an ass whooping, like you're going to learn things fast and hard.
Yeah. It's that shamanic death of being torn apart and completely disassembled, and then being put back together, and you're not the same as you were when you started. And yeah, definitely, just like you mentioned, connecting with Lilith and connecting with different entities like that it almost is kind of like we're a glutton for punishment, because it's definitely not an easy path, and it brings up a lot of trauma, a lot of just the deep-seated darkest parts of ourselves, when we talk about shadow work and things like that, and different taboos that we accumulate over time. And it just sort of pushes all of that right to the front and says, you're going to deal with this.
Yeah, you're going to deal with it now, like right now. I was talking with someone about this, one of the readers I know, and I can't remember who it was, but yeah, they were talking about how once they asked to get better, to feel better, all of a sudden they had to deal, like, things were brought into their life that forced them to deal with things that were of their old self or their old life, and made them actually, new situations, but made them face their shadow, and now you have to decide, are you going to take the action? Are you going to take the high road and evolve a little bit, or are you going to shut it down? Because, I mean, if learning without action is then shutting it down, right? So, like, as Jean is saying, you have your tower card moment, right? And then what do you do next? Do you go back to doing what you used to do, or do you evolve? Do you grow and then, take that one more spiral upwards, you know? So I think it's a matter of what you do next. Like once the thing is then in your face, how do you handle it?
Definitely, yeah. And I think you run the risk kind of too, like opening up that can of worms and then
Oh,
decide, oh, I don't want to deal with it. Because I think then you're in much worse of a way, and that's when you kind of head the opposite direction, and things can kind of become much darker very quickly.
and this is when how people talk about you shouldn't tackle it until you understand what you're asking for.
Mhm.
Because like you said, it could make you go the opposite way. It could make you retreat even further. And that I think causes more pain down the road, because you're actually then building your shadow side as opposed to embracing it.
Yeah,
You're pushing like, get back, way back down in there now. I don't want to talk to you or think about that ever again, kind of thing. And that can definitely be scary. I feel like shadow work is one of those times where you feel like you were saying, you feel taken apart, and then you have to put yourself back together. It's that whole spiritual alchemy thing. You have to be liquid, right? And let the good stuff and the bad stuff separate so that you can come back together without all the bad stuff. Not necessarily not all of it, but less of it, or at least more accepting of it,
definitely.
it seems like. So so we have a class in 2 days. Can you talk a little bit about what people can expect from the class? Like what kind of stuff we're going to talk about?
Yeah, we will discuss, sort of do a quick little 101, just go over some terminology and talk about, what the poison path is, what that actually means, and then distinguishing between entheogens and poisonous plants and kind of where there is overlap. Some different historic examples, just of different ways that people have used plants as ritual entheogens throughout history. Um, and then also kind of thinking about the entheogenic experience in different ways, because we have all these different layers, levels of consciousness. There's the dream realm, the astral realm, the more chthonic layers, working with different planetary energies and things like that. So we've got all of these different directions that we can go, that are made possible by the plants that we're working with, and the different affinities that they have, and the different chemical effects that they have on our brain and different states of consciousness. So kind of thinking about, so what is the reason that I'm wanting to work with this plant? Is it just simply to get to know the plant spirit itself more, or to do something specific, something in particular? Is it part of a larger ritual? And kind of thinking about the mindset behind that, and the frame of mind that you would want to be in when you are performing that, and then understanding which plants to kind of choose that would facilitate and support that, and then how to safely use them, different ways that we can incorporate them, because there are many more options, other than flying ointments, to work with plant spirit medicine and different ethnobotanicals, which we'll discuss that too, and how that differentiates, in my opinion, a little bit from the poison path, but it is a large part of, where we gather a lot of our information, and a lot of the traditional lore that has been maintained, is part of that ethnobotanical pharmacopoeia. So, a lot.
So I'm just gonna. I have questions about what all the stuff you just said, but I also just want to point out the whole like entheogenic and then ethnobotany. It's like because I keep thinking I'm putting the N and the TH in the wrong place, and so I slow way down when I see either of those words, and I feel like that's something that that can be really confusing, to somebody who's listening to all of these words. So just for the ease of our listeners, can you delve into just a little bit the entheogenic and then also the ethnobotany? Slow down.
Definitely.
Just so that so that we're all kind of on the same page.
For sure. So Entheogens are plants or fungi that facilitate spiritual experiences. So the word entheogen literally translates into generating the divine within. So whether that be calling the divine from an outside source, connecting to the divine in nature, or awakening sort of the divine aspect of yourself, that's what entheogens do. Entheogens have been used ceremonially by virtually every culture, throughout history at some point. So they have that ritual and religious aspect to it. Sometimes they were part of state-sanctioned religion in which they were considered a sacrament. Sometimes they were part of the, more of a folkloric pharmacopoeia. And, in that case, they would have kind of been looked down upon by the predominant society. And that's been sort of a continual pattern. So entheogens are used by various groups of people. The study of how those various groups of people use entheogens is ethnobotany. And there's also a medicinal and physical aspect to it too, because the way that these people understood illness, it was always not just a physical ailment, but also a spiritual, emotional, energetic kind of a component too. So these plants kind of tick all of those boxes and fall under that category.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helps me, because when we start talking about it, it's nice to be able to break down the terminology. Okay, so one of the things that you mentioned is figuring out what it is you're looking for from the path, and then deciding based on your goal or your expectation what herb might be better for you. And for me, I'm really looking forward to this class because that's something that I'd like answered for me. I'm a big fan of Harold Roth. I love his witching herbs. I love watching him talk. He makes me so happy. He's like a little wizard. I love him very much. I had taken, I think it was I think it was called Six Baneful Herbs was one of his classes. And I basically just got to like sit and watch a video of him, like in his easy chair, just like being himself, and like cats are walking on him. And he's just talking to you about belladonna and datura and henbane. And so now whenever I read anything by him, I hear his like little old wizard voice in my head. I love it so much. I'm a huge fan of his. I've tried to get him on the show. He's not interested so far, but I think he's working on something. So I think I might be able to get him on here because I just love him dearly.
I think you might be right about that.
What's that?
I think you might be right about that.
That he's working on something?
He's a busy guy.
He is a busy guy, but I feel like I saw a post recently that he said he was working on a new project. And so I'm just waiting for that. Mm-hmm. I try to keep track of everybody, see what everybody's doing.
We're sneaky.
No kidding, man. Like all of a sudden, everybody's got a new book out. Like Patty's got a new book out, and Amy Blackthorne. Everybody's like, all of a sudden, like,
well, what do you think we did during 2020?
All of you had just bunkered down and wrote your asses off. It's amazing, which has made my job super easy. Like, look at all these amazing people. Okay, so the other thing that you mentioned that I wanted to talk about, and this is a huge thing that I have heard from every plant person who really gets into working with plants, especially baneful ones, is plant spirit. That for everybody seems to be like, you can't just like, I mean, you can, but to just like buy dried herbs from a place like my store and then just work with them is one level. But there's another level of actually growing it and understanding it, and then working with both the fresh and the dried. So talk to me about plant spirits.
Definitely. So plant spirits are sort of the referred to as the genius of the plant, the consciousness of the plant. So each plant has its own individual little plant spirit. So all the plants out in your garden, they're all their own little thing. but the larger group of that plant spirit, so Atropa belladonna as a genus, that has sort of an overarching kind of a Davic spirit or consciousness, which represents all of the plants and all of the collective knowledge and all of the historical uses and all of these different attachments that the plant has kind of accumulated over the centuries is the plant spirit or the master plant spirit. So you can connect with your plant on an individual basis, and you can also connect to the master plant spirit. And the individual plant is sort of the key to that larger kind of consciousness. So with poisonous plants in particular, they're a little bit more flamboyant. They're a little bit more in your face. They're edgier by nature. That's just the role that they play. And it doesn't really have anything to do with being associated with witchiness or spookiness or darkness. That's just kind of it is. They are what they are, and that's their role in nature. And there's really no light or dark or intention behind it. But they do sort of have these in your face personalities. So all plants have this sort of spirit when it comes to their consciousness, and we can work with them in similar ways. But entheogenic herbs and poisonous plants in particular, they have such an affinity for magical practice and spirituality and different states of consciousness that they are just very, very willing to sort of work with us, because we are doing the same work essentially. They're doing it on the plant side, we're doing it on the human side. So when we're able to connect and unify that is something very special, and sort of the kind of the point of the work, and coming to understand these spirits more individually and independently. And that's not to say that you're not able to connect with the same energy of a plant buying dry herb, and there's the idea that you can simply say the plant's name and meditate about it and connect to its spirit kind of the way that you would with any other sort of a deity. I personally believe that indirect of a method is definitely possible, but it's going to take a little bit more work. You're going to need a little bit more extra reinforcement to, I feel, receive the same amount of insight or knowledge that you would get from actually physically growing a plant and seeing it every day, and watching it in every tiny little step of its life cycle. Through observation, that's really when you tend to absorb the most. And I think that's a very individual thing, and it's almost impossible to put that into words, that kind of understanding that comes with just working in proximity with the living plant, because I do feel like it is going to be different for each individual.
Absolutely. I think that the whole point of doing it on your own, of doing it yourself, is that it will be just, you can read everybody's, uh, description of what they felt and what they got out of it, and the information that they absorbed, but it's not the same as doing it yourself, right? That's like hearing about somebody else's meditation. Well, that sounds lovely,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be the same. It's not going to impact you in the same way, or make you want to delve deeper into it. And I think that's what we get, is that we start to get, I don't know that addicted is the right word, but we definitely get payback from, watching something grow from seed and grow into an actual plant that, and then flowers, and then has seeds of its own. It's amazing. And you do get a little obsessed with it, like watching every little step grow.
Mm-hmm.
I have a plant in my sunroom that I feel like I saved. I really didn't, but it's one of those house plants that has like the holes in the leaves. And when I bought it, he was only about this big, but one of the leaves was growing into one of the holes, and it was like unfurling, and it was definitely causing stuff. So when I was actually at the nursery at the plant store, and I like, like, gently like got it out of there. And then I was like, well, I'm taking you home now, clearly. Like, I wasn't even there to buy plants. I was there to buy a planter. And then I was just like, well, I saw you in distress and now you're my baby forever. And now he's like this big. I love it.
That's awesome.
I know, but I feel like we become responsible for them, like
Mhm.
children almost. Even though they don't need us like out in nature, but if we started them in a grow room, then they need us. But it's that responsibility and the excitement of watching them do something, right? Like the first flower is like your kid's first step kind of thing. It
Mhm.
just feels good to watch something grow and to nurture it. And this other added step of then getting information from it. The when I read about other people's experiences with, you know, learning from plant spirit and how very strong it is, and how, I mean, they talk, Harold Roth again, he talks about them like they're little aliens, and not like from another planet, but just like from another dimension. They don't share the same communication style that we do, so you have to listen to the feeling, the what's underneath of it, and there's a lot of dream work involved,
Mhm.
where you're like, things come to you in dreams, and stuff like this is what I read. But as much as I love plants and I have so many of them everywhere, like this lighting you see is actually grow lights, but
Nice.
it's like, I know this is actually all plants here you can't see, and then my whole sunroom is filled with them, which it's about to get cold, so I got to find a place to put all of them now. Because we do that. We buy all these plants and we're like, oh, we're gonna put them outside, and then you're like, shit, like I didn't know it was gonna get cold again. I gotta like bring them all in. Is this why you moved to Florida, so that you can just keep them all
Yes,
outside all the time?
absolutely.
Makes sense to me now. Get it.
Awesome.
But yeah, I feel like it's this the plant spirit thing, like, because I love living with them. Like, I talk to my little tree over there all the time, but I've never like sat and tried to commune or anything like that. Do you think it's stronger with poison path herbs than it is with like a spider plant?
In my personal opinion, I think so. I think it is. I think that these types of plants have always sort of reached out to people like us and sort of share an affinity with us. They're liminal plants. They grow sort of in between. They're associated with the untamed wilderness. They've also been kind of ostracized, demonized. All of this just bad rap stuff that's
And we
not
get that.
entirely true. We get
We
that.
totally understand that. We're with them on that.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like when you're talking about working with plants in a spiritual capacity like that, in actually communicating with the plant spirit, I do think that the plants that are most associated with the spirit world, i.e., entheogens and poisonous plants, are going to be the ones that are going to give you sort of the smoothest transition. While lemon balm is great, lady's mantle is great. They're a little more connected with other things, other energies. But with this type of work that we're doing, I definitely think that the poisonous plants are the most vocal when it comes to communicating.
And almost they're actually more fitted for the type of, they're a more fitted guide for the type of journey you want to be on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, because I see what you're saying. If you want certain information about uh, more mundane things, you can talk to more mundane plants. But I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the journey. I'm looking for that darker path in and through shadow world kind of stuff, which I like the idea of them growing in random wild places. And uh, I think that them just deciding to grow near you, I think is amazing. I have, from what I understand, there is a difference between deadly nightshade and like black nightshade,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So on my property, I have I have a lot of woody nightshade, which is like the purple flowers with the yellow in the middle, and that has the red berries. And then right in my corner next to my sunroom, I have a bunch of just volunteer black nightshade. Not the deadly kind, not the belladonna kind, but just like the, little white flowers and little black berries. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always so happy to see them. I'm like, you came back. I'm so happy. I've never planted them, but here they are. And they make me feel a little special that they're there. Um, my daughter, my oldest daughter, her middle name is Nightshade.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
oh, thanks. Her name is Scarlet Nightshade.
Jealous.
And uh, one time, so it was just her and I home, and she was probably about 3. I think she was like 3. She was up on the porch, and I could see her, but I was mowing the lawn, and I came up to check on her, and she has a handful of nightshade berries, and she goes, "Grapes? Grapes, mommy?" And I was like, "Oh no." I'm like, "Did you eat the grapes?" And she was like, "Yep." And I'm like, "Were they good?" And she was like, "Oh, they're yummy." I'm like, I don't know if you ate them because I don't think you'd say that, but I called poison control anyway.
Oh
Poison
God.
Poison control and I became very close friends. um, but it turned out she didn't eat any. But man, your heart stops. I can tell you that. You're just like, oh, if she's calling them grapes, that means she thinks they're edible. Oh my God, if she ate some. So, it was a long day of like just watching her. like,
Yeah,
like
definitely. Yeah.
eat something, eat this. And she was fine. I don't think she ate any, but man, it really made me be a lot more aware of
Mhm.
just the plants growing in your yard can look really good and be really fucking scary. And I was like, oh my God, if I named her Nightshade and she dies from eating Nightshade, that's gonna be terrible. This was a long time ago. She's fine. She's 19 now. So we're
Yeah, that could never happen.
well, yeah. So you're saying that the woody nightshade wouldn't kill you?
Well, just with her affinity, her middle name, I don't think.
Oh, so you're saying that that wouldn't happen because the plants would protect her?
Yeah.
Let's hope that's true. I'm gonna go with that. So, it's funny for her. When she turned 18, she wanted to get tattoos together, and so
Mhm.
we each got little red poison bottles. Well,
Oh,
I know.
that's
Yeah,
adorable.
I know. I kind of have a thing for like poison and poison bottles because of that. It's attractive in that kind of scary, dark way. It's the same way a candlelit cave is attractive because it's kind of scary and you don't know what's in there. So we can't help but be excited about it. But when it comes really close to actually fucking with your life, you're like, well, I don't really like poison as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
But but that's why education, that's why learning about it, that's why understanding it and listening to your plant spirits and listening to our teachers and people who have come before us and done all this work. I think that's super important. And so I thank you for all the work you've done.
My pleasure. Got a lot more to do.
So you make your own products too. I've seen your posts
Mhm.
about your products. What kind of stuff do you do?
So I essentially create different ritual formulas using most of the plants that I talk about. No, all of the plants that I talk about, even some of the more deadly ones. So I make different talismanic ritual jewelry, divination tools, entheogenic formulas from oils, flying ointments, different smoking blends, tinctures, all containing different baneful herbs, entheogenic plants, poisonous plants for their different properties. Blended for different types of intentions, different scenarios, because each one is slightly different in its energy and what workings it's most beneficial to. Um, yeah, I have over 150 different products, and they are all mainly built around plants on the poison path.
And just because it's important, where can people find these things?
Those are found at thepoisonersapothecary.com.
Nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think that there is a fear that people have about creating their own product because they don't want to they don't want to mess it up, because messing it up could mean getting very sick or worse. And so I think it's important that we have people who, like you, who make pure products so that we can try them out, and see if we like the effects that they can offer.
Yeah.
Because starting off with a plant and then waiting for it to get up, grow up, and then making something out of it, that's a really long process that in our day and age, that's a lot of focus and attention. That's probably, I mean, not everybody is steadfast in their hobbies. So it's nice to be able to go to somewhere and be like, oh, I'm going to try this tincture, or, because you make tinctures, balms. Is that
Yeah,
right?
tinctures, extracts, infused oils. I do the balms, the witch's ointments. Got 5 or 6 different ones of those. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's nice to go somewhere and be able to get them, because we're not we don't all have green thumbs, right? We're not all super good and have the time, right? So
Right.
so you actually provide a really important service to people who are interested but just can't home grow everything.
Mm-hmm. And two, they are becoming more available, and more people are growing them at home, and sharing them with others and things like that. And if anything, it is to kind of try and establish a baseline, or give people something to expect. And that's why I try and be as sharing with the information as I am with the products, to kind of teach people and be like, yes, they're poisonous plants, yes, they have the potential to hurt us, but our understanding of that is way sort of blown out of proportion. So if I can kind of at least give people ground to stand on, because I do feel like we've sort of been shooting in the dark with this for a while, and just giving people somewhere to start so that you can kind of go on your own journey without having to worry about, oh, if I got a little bit of this on my skin, am I going to be able to, make it to work tonight or whatever. And it's usually not that dramatic.
Well, I think education takes away the fear, right? Like, I think that's the point, is that you illuminate the dark and make it a little more understandable so that it's not quite so scary. And then, and of the people I know who do plant work and stuff, they love sharing information, just like you. Like, they're like, more people need to know about it. More people need to not be so afraid of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Because
a
they're
constantly evolving process too. The more we share, the more we kind of grow as a community, and our personal practices get enriched. And sharing is what it's all about, the pursuit of knowledge, and sharing and seeking with other people that have it.
and this is, yeah, like you said, this is how ideas grow. This is how we evolve, and we learn new things. We learn new ideas, new ways of doing things. It's important for our community and industry to be forthcoming with that stuff. And it's a topic that's incredibly interesting. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's been scary for a long time, but taking, giving us education, taking away that fear, and it's you're giving people control. And that's wonderful, because that's one of the things they don't feel. They don't feel like they're in control with poisonous plants, because they don't know where the line is, or how much is too much, or, what they can expect. But I love the idea of starting with the end in mind. What do you want to get out of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you put that, putting people back in control, because a lot of the main theme for me, at least, with working with these plants has kind of been taking your power back. Whether that's from the establishment, or organized religion, or an abusive relationship, or it's about seeing that thing that you want and just clawing your way there until you make it.
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes being on the magical path feels like that, like you're clawing your way there, because I think the magical path for everyone, depending on what particular road they're taking, is all about making your life better. being more in control, taking control of your actions, your decisions, and the outcomes, learning, and then hopefully doing better.
Absolutely, that's the hope.
That's the hope. I often say, because a lot of people are like, I'm really interested because we get a lot of people in the shop who they don't even know why they've come in. They're like, well, they're like, I'm really interested in this stuff, but I don't know why, and I'm like, well, let me tell you what witchcraft can do. It can make you just feel better in your skin on a daily basis. It can make you feel less anxious, more in control, and less just kind of at the whim of the universe. I feel like it helps you find where you're supposed to be.
Yep, your connectedness to everything else, really.
Yeah, that. I love that. And we get that through balance. I swear every time you dive deep into magic in any path, it comes down to balance. It comes down to balancing out just how you run your life, how you make decisions. I mean, even with growing plants, you have to know the difference between neglect and overcare, right? Like the whole Empress card always teaches us, like you have to know how to water something just the right amount, not too much, not too little. If you don't water it, it's going to die. If you drown it, it's going to die. You need to find the balance in the middle.
That's right.
What does Crystal say? It's more like riding the whims of the universe. Yeah, riding the whims of the universe, which can be fun, but it feels better if it feels like you're riding the right whims of like the ones that you're supposed to ride, the currents you're supposed to be in. Because I feel like that's where we feel a disconnect a lot of the times if we're not on the right path, but we don't even know that. We don't even know that there is a path for us. And then when you get into this type of work, whether it's deep diving into herbal stuff or astrology or tarot or any of the many things, what you find is that eventually you'll start to see that there's a shift and the right things start happening. And that's when the synchronicities and things where you're like, oh, and then everything starts to move into the right places. But like we said, sometimes you take the fast track. Like I want to get 3 lanes over now. And then it's terrifying. But if you make it through, then well, fuck, you've done it. Now you're in the fast lane. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to think. There was something else I wanted to ask you about. So normally I have a list and lists and lists of questions based on what I read in the book, but since I haven't read the book, I don't have lists and lists of questions. One of the things I did when I was flipping through, I noticed that you have sigils for things. Like I saw a poppy sigil.
Yeah, that was one of the sort of new things that I did specifically for the book was creating different plant spirit glyphs. So there's one for each of the main herbs in the book, and they're created using just like a basic sigil making technique to sort of act as representative containers or connection points for the particular plant spirit energy that could be used as a focal point for meditation or anything really, sort of symbolic representations of the plants. So some little guys here.
Yeah, I love them. I love sigils and glyphs and things. And there's one on the cover which I didn't even realize until I started looking in it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, look, wolfsbane. That is so cool.
Yes.
I love these. Okay, so how do you suggest people use them? Like I understand why we want to use them, but like how would you actually like put it on a necklace or like study it like a sigil type of work or?
Yeah, you could use it, as a focal point or kind of mandala for meditation. I mentioned earlier that there is the idea that we can connect with these different energies without having to have the physical plants present. So this is a way to kind of give you something that is a little bit more connected, than just sitting there visualizing the plant or something like that. Each one is kind of created in conjunction with working with the specific plant spirit to represent its energy. So it would be as a focal point for meditation, or I lost my train of thought on that one.
That's okay. I mean, I was thinking you could even, you know how, people have like the little sign they stick in their plant, right? It'll be like
Mhm.
Wolfsbane on a little stake. You could paint that on something and put that in your plants. Not only, well, I guess you'd have to memorize what all they are, which would be really cool. Like, oh no, that's the Wolfsbane glyph. I know what that is. But also, it kind of solidifies that connection between the two, right? Like makes it even stronger because it's growing with that, it's existing where the plant is growing, kind of
And
thing.
that was kind of the idea with these, to actually be used and to be put to different purpose, for other people to use them instead of destroying them. Like this, I've got the little belladonna, tattooed on
Do
my
you?
wrist here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Then you could actually, yeah, you could get that tattooed on you. Like you could even get like a little sprig of the plant and that.
Mm-hmm.
That's adorable. I like that.
Thanks.
But also, you're gonna look like a total alchemist's garden too. Be like, I don't like somebody else, like, I don't understand what any of these are. And you're like, I know what my plants are, which I think is always fun.
Yeah, there's power in secrecy and
Absolutely.
symbolism.
That's absolutely true. There is a lot of that. There's a lot of power it's very exciting and enticing to people. It makes me think of this is silly, but it makes me think of Practical Magic. You know how the women are always ostracized and kind of pointed out and tortured. But then when people are actually given the opportunity to come in their house, they're like, I always wanted to come in your house. Like that's exact, because they felt like they were missing out on something, even though, societally they would shun them and, because they were afraid of them, what they truly wanted was to see what was happening in there
Hmm.
because that's exciting.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
I think that's why we're all here because we all wanted to be in that house.
Oh, totally.
That greenhouse, oh my God.
I would give anything to have that house, even today.
It's incredible. I know. It's one of those dream homes,
Mhm.
like with the rose garden, and it's right next to the water. Oh, it had everything. Okay, so your book, so the publishing date got moved a couple of times.
Mhm.
When does your book actually come out now?
The for sale date on the publisher's website is November 9th. So if you did pre-order on Amazon or order online, they may not be coming until early November, end of October, because there was a printing delay, but it seems like things sort of caught up and people are actually starting to receive their books. I've been shipping some out as well. So I know that books are definitely floating around out there, but I
So
do
we
believe.
can sell them now, even though the release date is until November, because I have a case of them and I'm really excited to put them out. And I'm excited for everybody who's taking the class to be able to get one if they want to. I
Mhm.
have them for you. I have them.
Yeah, that's what makes them even a little bit more special because other people might not be getting them for a little while longer. So we got them for the events, and that's exciting.
And that's exciting. Yeah. So coming to the event means that you can get an early book. And are you going to be signing them?
Yeah, I'll
Sweet.
definitely be doing signed copies.
Excellent.
I've
It's
got my
nice to have
special
space.
pen.
Patty Wigington is known for sneaking into my shop and signing all of her books that I have in stock. She brings her purple pen. She doesn't even tell me she's there. She just finds all the books I have of hers. She signs them, puts them back on the shelf, sneaks out.
I love that.
I do too. It's amazing. I've caught her once. Like I walked out on the floor and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And she's like in the middle of signing a book. I
I'll go
love
to
her.
Barnes and Noble, see if I can find one. Start signing.
Just go in and start signing your books everywhere.
Mhm.
I think it's a really cool thing to do because then people are like, oh my God, the author touched this book. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's lovely.
Hmm.
And Crystal wants to know, is it Belladonna ink that you're using?
Well, I did. I brought my nightshade ink, my deadly nightshade ink, and it seems like for whatever reason, that specific ink and that quill does not want to write on the inside of the cover. So I brought
Oh,
another ink. It's still a natural, traditional formula, an oak gall. So it's got a little invisible ink quality to it. It gets a little darker as it oxidizes.
oh, I love that. I love it when inks change as they dry. I think that's so neat. You can like inks are a thing you can get into, man. Like they have these ones now, like you know, they start in one color and then as they dry, they're a different color. I can get into all that. I love it. It's so very magical. We used to crush up pokeberry and make ink out of that because it does disappear. And you
Yeah.
can draw with stuff and then it's gone.
Hmm.
It's pretty neat. We've actually like I have a circle out back, like my patio. It's actually my circle, and so my daughter's actually gone out there and she made a bunch of ink and she decorated every single stone in it, like all the pavers.
Hmm.
Um, after we had 3 chickens, and after they passed away, this was like her memorial to them. But it was all poke ink, and then after a day, it was gone. It was
Huh.
neat.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Beautiful, yeah.
So yeah, I love the idea of just mixing up inks and using them for you know what you know adding that plant's properties to your intention, right? Those extra tools and boosts that we put our into our magic. I love that. I'm also a big fan of using what you have.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and my yard is like a jungle, so I have so many things. A lot of them I did not plant, but I let them live. I like them all. Makes me happy to see. I actually uh on the side of my circle, I actually have a an elderberry bush that out of nowhere just decided to grow there. I have one in another
Oh,
part of my yard that was a gift, but this one, and it's really far away, just out of nowhere, right on the edge of the circle. I was like, wow, that's rad.
yeah, must be showing up for something.
I know. I'm really excited about it because it's one of my favorite things to work with. I love elderberry. I use it for a lot of things.
Hmm.
So I'm happy that they're just shooting up around the yard. Bring them on, bring more.
For sure.
I
That's a
love
great
volunteer
example.
plants.
Yeah. Elderberry just as a medicinal plant that still kind of has that darker, sort of shadowy, doorway to the other world kind of aspect to it.
Yeah, there's something about it that uh it definitely has that feel to it. It's got that it's I think maybe it's the name, right? But it's definitely got that like older magic feel to it. It's an
Hmm.
elder. And so there's something about it. And then there's all these, the berries can only be used in certain ways, and there's only certain types of elder that you can use, that you can actually eat and stuff like that. So even to get into it, you do have to do a fair amount of research. Um, I feel like my elder is one of the few things that I actually connect with on a more spiritual level as far as my plants go. I've
Hmm.
got the one I saved in the sunroom. I've got my elder, and I've got a few others like the nightshade that I love that it's just growing on its own. Um, oh, I have a random question for you. How do
Sure.
you feel about Bach remedies?
About what?
Bach remedies, like
Oh, oh, and like flower essences in
yes,
general?
yes, yeah.
Okay. So we know that flower essences are vibrational. They don't contain the chemical components of the plant, so we're not really going to get an extremely intense, pronounced entheogenic effect. But um, it's sort of the same concept as working with the plant spirit glyphs, or doing a plant spirit meditation or journey or something like that, just in proximity to the plant. So it's all sort of a vibrational thing, and I think with flower essences, they're meant to be worked with more on kind of a mental, emotional, and spiritual way anyway. So their effects are going to be a little bit more subtle. Than having this profound entheogenic experience, but it's a way that you can work with baneful herbs over a longer period of time, I feel like, without having to worry about toxicity or things building up in your system or whatever. um, yeah.
Strangely enough, when I asked you the question, I wasn't even thinking about like poison path or baneful or entheogen herbs in that. I was just wondering how you felt about the process of making them and the validity of it, because I know it's something that people go back and forth on. Uh, but thinking about that, like thinking about actually making one with something, on the baneful list, that's fucking interesting, man. It literally had not occurred to me until right now, because I listened to a really long interview with Dory Midnight, and it was a few years ago, and she gave very specific instructions on how to make flower essence, uh, water, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, sometimes they make it without even putting anything in it, like literally setting a bowl of water next to a plant
Mm-hmm.
and then doing intention work and meditation and working with plant spirit. And it is a very mindful practice. It's not just like putting a bowl of water next to a plant and walking away. It is a intentional, serious time you spend with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that becomes like the thing you bottle and mix with brandy and stuff so that it doesn't go bad. Um, but I've always thought of them as like, okay, I've always thought of them as like the love and light sort of version of working with plants, as opposed to like making a flying ointment, which is like the opposite end. Right. So it never occurred to me to use something like belladonna in this way, but I guess that would be a really intense way of doing that and making one. Huh. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a whole new product line. Sort of like the balance.
Yeah.
Meeting in the middle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've got that whole ritual mindfulness aspect of it, and yeah, it is. It's just a different way of kind of connecting with that specific energy. And when if anybody's taken like an energy work class or a Reiki attunement or whatever, they'll usually give the example of that water holds memory, and it has kind of that same sort of crystalline structure that holds memory, holds information, holds intention, to where, if you think bad thoughts at this bottle of water for long enough, it's going to taste nasty and dead and flat compared to the bottle of water that you think good thoughts at. And people have actually tested it, and it seems to be true. So it's magnetic.
I've read a lot of these different studies. I read the one that is done by I believe a Japanese doctor, and he did it with rice, right? So it was like the bowl of rice that you said nice, encouraging things to, the bowl of rice that you said horrible things to, and then the bowl of rice that you ignored completely.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the vibration and the feel that each one would get. I've also seen it where they have people, oh, what was that in? Oh, I think it was in the book called The Energy Cure, I think, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, it was a thing they did where they had uh people praying over certain waters, and then they would use that water to water certain plants, and then non-affected water to others, and see what the difference was. And there
Mm-hmm.
was always a marketed difference. Like there was always like a marketable, like they were fuller, they flowered more, they just seemed happier, whereas the other ones were doing fine,
Right.
you know. But the rice one was the one that affected me the most, because the reason the man was doing it was because he wanted people to understand how our words affect other living beings, especially children. So when you speak nice to something, it like that rice after like a month looked new and edible. The rice that they said horrible things, like words like useless, was gross, and the one they neglected was the nastiest, like the most putrid. And what he was trying to get people to understand is that neglect is the worst kind of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so I guess he was trying to say, at least talk to your kids. Even if you say nasty shit, at least talk to them.
Even
Because
if
if
you're
you just
saying the
ignore
wrong
them,
thing.
what's that?
Even if you're saying the wrong thing, but
I know, at least talk to them, at least give them some sort of attention, because
Mhm.
some sort of attention people can still grow with, but absolutely none, and they deteriorate, which that has stuck with me for a long time. So it's one of those things where you're like, wow, neglect is the absolute worst.
Mhm.
Oh, here we go. There is a book by Veda Austin called The Secret Intelligence of Water that people might be interested in. She actually photographs crystalline imprints made into water. Yeah, I've
Cool.
seen crystal. I think maybe you showed me these before, because I've seen them and it is incredible. Like energies put into water, because they're amazing and gorgeous. People should look that up when they get a minute. The Secret Intelligence of Water. So the idea that water can be imprinted by energy, I think, is why we use things in witchcraft like moon water, snow, uh, uh, thunderstorm water. You know, all these different things.
Mhm.
And I've actually gone so far as to putting a bowl of water like on a mantle in a vacation house, and all the things that happen in that vacation house, like all the laughing and the games and the, fun cooking together and all that stuff gets kind of trapped in there. And then I write it down, and where it came from and who was there, all these things, so that you can, like, if you need that in a working at some point, you can be like, oh wait, I have jovial. Hold on, I've got jovial water. So I think it's cool to have those. So just around, but that's an interesting thing, water and plants, right? The plants need it. And do you do any special, do any chanting over your water?
I don't do any chanting over the water. I do, we do like some different regular offerings and incense and things like that, and I do talk to the plants and sing to the plants, but I don't do anything specifically with the water. Mm-mm.
It's an interesting thing. It's because there's so many little things you can do. Forever I've heard talking to your plants, right? I've heard that forever. And there is the whole thing where, like, they kind of use what we breathe, right? And then they kick us back what we need, kind of thing. And so that's nice. But also I think it's just like the feeling and the company, and you know, I always talk to my little plants when I water them and stuff. I have air plants that I have to, like, completely submerge. I feel like they're they're the only ones that give a bath too. Like, they actually get a bath, and it's like this really nice thing. So, but there's, but thinking about that, like, I mean, I could be making moon water and giving them a bath in moon water.
Yeah, so many
Sometimes it's a
different
lot of
little
work.
layers.
What's that?
Just all the little layers, and
Y-
you can make it as complicated and intricate as your imagination. Um, you know, sky's the limit, and just the point there on using moon water and vibrational essences and things like that have more of an energetic component. It's like we will use all of this sympathetic magic for all of this other stuff, but then when it comes to poisonous plants or entheogenic herbs, it's like, oh, well, that's only got, this little bit in there. That's not going to do anything. Like, for some reason, they kind of get reduced back to like their chemical effects. And we'll put like a little sprig of rosemary in something for good luck or protection or whatever. But put a couple belladonna flowers in something, and it's not entheogenic enough. They're very powerful, bright vibrationally, just like all of the other plants that we're using, in sympathetic ways.
I think people avoid them because they're scared of them.
Mm.
I think people aren't going to put any sort of like poison flower in something because, again, because they're just not sure how to use them, and so they're afraid of, you know, tripping. Like, oh no, I put that berry in my drink, and now I'm seeing things.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's the thing. I think that with education, can come useful growth, like useful stuff that we can actually use in our practice to progress, to find more secrets.
Mm-hmm.
We're always looking for the more secrets.
Yeah, deeper and deeper.
Yeah, and thinking about water, like you can go, like you said, you can anywhere along the spectrum. You can go all stops out, right? And like have a fancy thing that you make moon water in and do all the things to it. Or you can literally like when you go to water your plants, just be like, you know, I want you to be lovely water and give lots of nourishment to my plants and just say nice things to it just then. Like you don't necessarily, it was monks. You don't necessarily have to be a monk to like bless water, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what the thing I was reading. I can't remember where though, but they had like an entire team of monks who would like pray over the water and then they would go use it. It's like, wow, this is a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of people involved. But I think it's neat when they get together to do that stuff. I appreciate when people actually do studies on sort of transcendental things that are hard to pinpoint,
Mm-hmm.
like the entire parapsychological association. So that's what they do. Think
Mm-hmm.
of ways to like actually experiment and get data on stuff that most people don't even believe exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and whether we understand it or not, or we get to sort of a final answer or solution, I think it's more about just kind of accumulating the information and accumulating the experiences and the data, and it's sort of more about the experience itself than kind of the end result on these things that we just don't quite understand, but deep down inside we know are just the way that things are.
I understand that completely. Yeah, like it is about the journey, and sometimes I have to force myself to slow down and remember that, because it's always, I get in work mode, it's always about the end. It's always about the end result, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes, most of the time, it should not be. Most of the time, it should be about enjoying the moments of building and working towards something. Slowing down is my thing. I need to learn from that. I need to slow down. It's hard.
Are you a fire sign? Yeah.
I'm a Leo.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yes.
What's your moon?
Aries.
Okay.
My
I'm
risings.
Scorpio.
Oh, okay. I could see
Yeah,
it.
it's a rough combination because it's kind of like Leos are like, look at me, and my Scorpio moon's like, don't look at me. And it's funny because I find that balance in my rising sign, which is Libra. So I'm kind of like
Oh,
balancing that out.
that is perfect. It's interesting that your sun sign is Leo, the solar, and then your moon sign is literally water, the moon. Yeah, wow, very intense.
It is a little bit, and it's tough.
Wow.
Um, but I mean, Aries is an amazing sign. My daughter is an Aries. My mother is an Aries. And I find them to be very, very strong. Right. So like, but so you're a Leo Aries, which is like,
Yeah.
like the full force, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of fire.
Well, that's good though, because they say that you use that to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
also, your plants need that light.
Yes, they do. They do. Maybe a little less.
Oh, wait, what's your rising sign?
Pisces.
Oh, well, that'll water it down a bit, a
Yeah.
whole bit.
I come off very, very chill, very cool, but it's not. It's not the way it is at all.
Well, Pisces are, yeah, chill, but so deep is the
Mm,
problem. Still waters, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Very deep. Well, I want to thank you for coming. I feel like I've taken up a lot of your time already, and it's just about 10. So I'm gonna let you go. I am so excited about Friday.
Me too. I can't wait to see you in
It's
person and do the class.
It's going to be great. So I know we've got at least 10 people taking it in person, and we have one person who's going to be virtual. I got to figure out how I'm going to do that. I'll figure it out. I'll set up a thing because we've never done that before. Like we've done like full Zoom classes, but never like I'm just going to film you teaching the class
Yeah, yeah,
and
totally.
show it to whoever else wants to do virtual. So, which it'll be great. It'll be fine. I'll figure it all out. It's gonna be lovely. All right, everybody. I want everybody to thank Coby Michael for joining us and writing this amazing book that you can all come buy from me if you want or whenever. I don't really care, but definitely come to the class and see Coby in person and learn about which herb is for you and the journey you want to be on. Tell the people once more where they can find you.
You can find me on social media at The Poisoner's Apothecary, and my full range of products, classes, and any other information you'd like to know about me at thepoisonersapothecary.com.
Thank you so much, everybody. I love you all. Thank you all for being here. I know a lot of you that were in the chat are going to be in the class, so I look forward to seeing you there. And everybody have a great night. I love you all.